Stop using film recipes. It's a big statement to make, I know, but let me explain because you might be surprised with my alternative solution. And then flood the comment section with your outrage. I want you to think back on what it was that made you want to buy a Fujifilm camera in the first place. Because I'd say probably one of their biggest selling points at the moment, especially with the X100V and the X100VI, is the ability to replicate retro film styles. Before I had one, I was deep down the rabbit hole of analog photography. I'd gotten a Minolta SRT 101, Canon F1, and an Olympus XA, and I love all of them for different reasons. But I felt like to progress as a photographer and learn from my mistakes, I needed to instantly see what I was doing, whether it was right or wrong, so that I could, actually learn. It also didn't help that film was starting to get really expensive, so digital photography was looking, more and more appealing to me. So I did some research, and as you probably guessed, I got a Fujifilm, but this camera takes photos so clean. And I know that's ridiculous to say when you have things like the film recipes that add noise and grain and all those great things that make up the analog vibe, but it didn't feel like enough. I wanted to really with the quality vibe of the images. But also I didn't want to, edit the photos later to achieve a really retro look. I just wanted to take the photos and have them look the way that I want them to look. So if you're anything like me and you really, really want to get that retro, grungy look, or even if you want to try something new, I have the solution, and it is so easy and cheap. So how do you do it? Well, we're gonna need a few things for this little project. The main piece is a Kodak Fun Saver. I got mine for £16 on Analog Wonderland here in the UK. But if you have a local shop that develops film, sometimes, because they throw them out after developing anyway, they may have a used Fun Saver you can have for free. Obviously, I'm not guaranteeing that, but what's the harm in asking? Next, you'll need a body cap that fits your camera model. I personally didn't want to use the one that came with my camera, just in case I needed it down the line sometime. So instead, I bought one off eBay. It was £2.99. Lastly, the only tools you're gonna need here are some scissors or clippers, a drill, and a 16mm drill bit. So what is it exactly that we're doing here? Well, since the 90s, the Kodak Fun Saver has been one of the world's favorite disposable cameras, and for good reason. The images it produces have this nostalgic, dreamlike, retro vibe that pretty much encompasses the look and feel of the 90s. So we're gonna take this little camera's lens out and mount it to our camera's body cap so we can recreate that nostalgic look. Technically, it does say do not open on the camera, so look, if you're gonna do this, just be careful and make sure you take that battery out before you start taking it apart, just to minimize any chance of getting a shock. Look, you don't have to, but I definitely recommend using the film before you actually go ahead with this. Otherwise, you're just wasting a bunch of rolls. Lastly, all that's left to do to get that lens out is taking out these two screws. And she's out, mate. That's it. Time to get rid of all this stuff, and then let's get on to the drilling. Initially, I was gonna just use the 16mm drill bit, drill the hole straight away, but I got this little drill bit that I'm gonna use first to do a little guide hole, just to make sure I'm getting it in the right spot. Make sure you're putting something down underneath, because you don't want to drill straight into your table. And let me tell you, this 16mm drill bit is quite long, so if I didn't put something down, I'd be drilling straight into the table. And that's it, perfect hole. Now all we got to do is get those scissors or clippers and snap away to make it fit. Look at that, perfect fit. I wanted to give it a bit of a blow before. Not a blow. I wanted to give it, you know, get rid of all the dust and stuff before I put it on the camera. Alright, so we want to test this out before we go any further, just to make sure it works, but the camera's not gonna recognize it as a lens. It just thinks it's a body cap right now. So we need to go into the settings, head all the way down to setup, then button/dial setting. Here we're going to be able to turn on shoot without lens. So switch that on and then you should be able to take photos with it. Now, I've seen other people do this where they don't glue the lens into the camera cap, and I'm not here for that, because if this thing drops or something happens and it falls into the body of the camera and damages it, I don't want that. So I super glued it in place, left it for a little bit, and now it's sitting fine. I am not gonna lie to you though, I'm not loving the cracks around the lens there. So I bought some auto sealer just to kind of weatherproof this as much as possible. You don't have to do this, I guess, but I mean, I just didn't want any water leaking in and damaging any parts, just in case it like rained or something leaked in a bag. So we're gonna seal it all up and just make sure it's looking, hopefully make it look a bit nicer as well. We're going to clean this up before it sets with a little isopropyl alcohol, not the fun alcohol as Craig likes to say. Speaking of Craig, there's two of us that run this channel here and we look at all things retro. This isn't the first photography video we've done and it definitely won't be the last. We've also looked at the Game Boy camera and that is a bloody ripper of a video. You should definitely take a look. I'll link it here. It would mean the absolute world if you could give this video a like. It helps us get noticed by the algorithm, and if you're enjoying the content, well, why not chuck us a subscribe? There's plenty of content here on the channel. We do weekly videos and we'd love it if you stuck around to help us grow this space. Alright, I'd say this is as much weatherproofing as we're going to get without 3D printing a case, so let's give it a try. I wanted to try this project for a bit over a year, ever since I saw Matthew Stern's video. I've been using it for a while now, and honestly, I didn't think I'd love it this much. The images aren't perfect, but that kind of makes it perfect for me. I've always been drawn to anything retro, hence starting this channel, so I guess it's no wonder why I've been using just this lens without the need for recipes, which I used to use non-stop to get that vintage feel. Look, let's be honest, I know this isn't a full replacement for film recipes. This lens is making me want to take my camera out a whole bunch more. They say the best camera is the one you have with you. And this has me thinking, the same's got to be true about the lens. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe. And if you're looking for more great videos, this one right here is a bloody ripper. See you next week.